There are people who believe a courtroom is not a place for children, but there are people who go to the court who are already in vulnerable situations and have no child care.
WRAL's Amanda Mullen investigates the case of a breastfeeding mother. She says she was scolded by a judge in Wilson, and that's why she filed a complaint with the state.
Are you happy?
She looks happy.
Not that way.
Amanda Mullen has her hands full as the single mother of 3 children 4 and under. But on June 6, when she went to Wilson County District Court to extend a domestic violence protective order, she only had 10-month-old Sophia with her.
I did breastfeed in the courtroom at one point, and then we left shortly after just because it wasn't my turn to be seen.
Mullen tells us that she spent most of the 3 hours waiting outside of the courtroom for her hearing to begin. When she returned to the courtroom, Mullen says Sophia was calm and quiet. Yet she says she got an earful from Judge Wayne Boyette.
Almost immediately, the first thing he asked me was why I brought my baby to court.
What did you say?
I let him know that I didn't have anybody to keep her for me, and also that she was breastfed, so she needs to be with me most of the time. At the very end, he told me once, and he said, "Don't bring that baby back to court." And then, at that point, I was pretty much kind of in shock.
Rules about whether children are allowed in a courtroom in North Carolina aren't very clear. What is clear is that a judge is in charge of the decorum of a courtroom, which means he or she may ask someone to leave if they're being disruptive. Beyond that, individual judges have a great amount of discretion when it comes to their courtrooms.
Just being talked to that way, it tore me down.
Felt demeaning.
Yeah, completely.
The judge has enormous power.
North Carolina Central University law professor Irving Joyner says that disruption in the courtroom is the only real reason for a judge to voice concern.
I would dare say that the experience that this mother had in Wilson County is probably replicated around the state.
But under North Carolina law, judges do have the right to determine who can be in the courtroom.
The favor still stands with the judge for making that decision because they have a right to do that.
Right. The law is on the judge's side. Whether that was an appropriate decision for the judge to make at that point, that's another question.
I was very distraught. I cried a lot that day, but I got home eventually, and I thought, I have to be able to do something about this. I have to do something about this. So I went and filed a complaint.
Mullen filed a formal complaint with the North Carolina Judicial Standards Commission on June 8th. In it, she wrote that she was reprimanded over and over by the judge, despite the fact that her child, quote, did not cry or disrupt the hearing in any way.
The whole situation just wasn't right. And I felt like something needed to be done about it, not only for my sake, but for also any other women that might come into contact with this judge with their infants.
This is a very unfortunate situation, and is one that people in the community need to follow up with the judge about.
We reached out to Judge Boyette, and he said, quote, "It would be improper for me to comment on this matter at this time. It is not over, but rather pending litigation. It is also my understanding Ms. Mullen may have filed a complaint with judicial standards, and it would not be appropriate for me to comment on a possible judicial standards complaint publicly." Amanda Mullen, WRAL News.
The North Carolina Judicial Standards Commission investigates complaints against judges and can hold hearings. As a result, judges may be disciplined or even removed from the bench. The most recent numbers from 2018 showing the commission considered 362 complaints.